Good evening, TheSuffolkRam from Rant Nerds. Welcome to another one of my Ram Rants. So this is going to be a little review of a game I picked up in the Steam sales. A little indie game actually, called The Bad Rat Show. Now, Bad Rats was a bit of a, I want to say, joke game. It was a game that got a bit of a reputation for being a little bit weird, a little bit odd. It's so bad it's good reputation. A bit like Goat Simulator, it got lots of really reviews on it, which like, oh, this is the greatest game ever made and so forth, based purely around the fact it's not like pure based all got in the joke, but a lot of those classic games like Goat Simulator is a perfect example. You've got the Burn the Rope, it's probably really old one, was probably the first sample of everybody sort of gets in on the joke. But you know what, it was dirt cheap. It was 39 pence I picked up for, so I grabbed it in the Steam sales. I thought, why not, 39p, doesn't matter if it's shit, I'll give it a go. And I've been pleasantly surprised by it. It's actually more fun than I was expecting. It's made by some Brazilian developers. I've got the name written down here. It's Invent for Entretenimento. I've never been very good at pronouncing names, unfortunately. It's one of my foibles. But it's definitely an unusual, odd game. A lot of people obviously pick this up because if you go in the Steam and look at the Steam achievements, only 15% of people have actually got the first achievement, and you do that, you have to complete 3 levels, and 15% of people have managed to do it. So clearly a lot of people picked this up in the Steam sale or had it gifted to them or whatever game. So the basic gameplay is, it's called Bad Rats because they're these rats and they've decided they want to take their revenge on the cats. And to do this, they are basically setting up death trap, sort of ruled by death traps, whereby they will, through a series of basically what you basically have to do. There's a ball, there's a button. The button activates the trap that kills the cat. You have to get the ball from one place to the other place, and they meet, and the cat gets killed. And to do this, you have to get over obstacles and so forth. Bit like Impossible Machines. So you remember this game? I had on a Packard Bell way back in the day. I think that was late 90s, early 2000s Impossible Machines. But again, similar thing, you had to basically build a machine that got a ball in the box or made the cat get the mouse or something. Similar sort of concept. In this case, it's the ball touches the button and kills the cat. So it's done as it's a physics puzzle game. So it's one of those games which is on for most of it, it's on a 2D plane, but in a 3D environment. But later on it goes to fully 3D, but we'll come to that a bit later. So you've got 2D plane, 2D play area, and you have to get the ball to hit the button. Now, how you do this, you have your rats, and your rats all have different skills, and they can broadly be just broken into 2 main types, which is like the pushing and pulling. They either move the ball or they pull them towards it. So I'm just going to go through roughly off the top of my head the order they are. So for the pushing rats, you have Hockey Rat, so he's got a hockey stick and he will kick the ball, and he goes to directional, so he'll either go to the left or to the right, and he'll whack the ball quite hard but quite a shallow angle, not too high an angle, so he's good for just like gently, if you want to keep a bit of force but shallow angle, he's quite good. You've got Karate Rat. Now he will push the ball no matter which direction it comes from. If it comes above, below, side, he will kick the ball, karate kick at quite a high angle in any sort of direction. So he's good if you want to go over a tall obstacle, he's quite handy for that. You've then got Gangster Rat. If he sees the ball, he'll shoot it with his machine gun, and that'll send the ball flying. Again, he's directional, left or right, and he'll just as soon as he sees the ball, boom, fire away, and the ball goes flying. Again, he can put a lot of force point, although he's not got a lot of control. As soon as he sees it, he'll start shooting, so you have to position him just right, so he doesn't see the ball too soon, otherwise he'll shoot it before you want him to. You've also got Bomber Rat, who is not my most favourite cat rat in the game, and not so sure the reasoning basically, but he's basically designed to look like a terrorist, a typical Middle Eastern terrorist, and I'm not too keen on that. But he basically, as soon as the ball touches him, he explodes and the ball gets flung off. So he also be different, a bit like the Karate Rat. He imparts a bit of force, although his force is more instant. With the Karate Rat, takes a second to respond, and it's directional. So depending on where the ball reaches him, will change direction. So he puts a lot of force behind it. You've also got Flu Rat, who is good because he basically sneezes. Again, he's directional. He sneezes in a certain direction, and he will push a ball in a certain direction. But he hasn't got a lot of force, so he's quite. If you want a gentle movement, he's quite good for that. You've got the American football rat, or they call it just football rats, and he'll basically he's on a timer. Oh, some of these are on timers, I should say. So flu rat, football rat are on timers. So flu rat won't sneeze until his timer hits 0, and he'll keep doing it every few seconds. Football rat is on a timer, and he won't move until his timer reaches 0. And what he then does is he just walks in the same direction constantly. He does not stop. He just keeps walking that direction, and he'll push. So he'll push pretty much anything. The other rats, the ball. So if you've got a long distance to cover, he's handy because he'll just push the ball all the way up or wherever you want to go. He'll just keep pushing it. So he's quite handy for that. There's bike rat, who's similar thing. He's good at pushing long distance, and he rides a bike, and when he's timer based, when his time reaches 0, and he'll put his foot down and go flying. Takes a second to rev up. He's used for like knocking the ball into things, so you'll basically have a puzzle where the ball might be travelling through midair and you want it knocked out of the air, and if you time him right, he'll come flying off a ramp and knock the ball out of midair in the direction you want it to go. He's used for that. You've got Disco Rat, which I have put as a pushing, because he doesn't part of force things, but he's not. The ball has to hit him first, and basically he got a big afro, and when the ball hits, it just bounces off. So again, he uses bounce. He's not a big bounce; it's proportional to how far it travels. So whereas he doesn't really impart any force, he's like just bounces the same direction, same amount of force. So if the ball hits him very gently, or only bounce a little bit. If it hits him very hard, it'll bounce a lot. So it's important to get the ball, hit him at the right angle, at the right direction, and with the right amount of speed, so it hits and bounces well. So they're like the pushing parts, because you do a lot of pushing around. The other ones you've got is the pulling rats. These are the ones that actually pull things towards you. So you've got the first one you get is the yoga rat. And Yoga Rat has a sort of an area effect, and if the ball is anywhere within the area effect, they will drag the ball towards them. And so and you can do things like you can combine it with other situations to make it useful with other tools, and you can drag the ball in certain directions. But they are handy. They'll basically be able to control the ball as soon as it gets within range. Now that range extends through solid objects, so if they even can't see the ball, it will still get pulled towards them, which is handy. So you can use them like. If you can put them in places where perhaps like in front of behind, if there's a wall there and the button's here, the ball's coming from this direction, you might have the yoga rat behind the wall and it'll pull it towards the button, so it can be used for that. Pope Rat is similar to Yoga Rat, except he'll pull the ball towards him as soon as he has line of sight. Hasn't got a great deal of force behind it, so the ball can tend to swing, but you can use the advantage, so you can use him to, if the ball's travelling up, he can then pull it at an angle and cause it to arc and come down. So he's useful in that respect, because you can do that sort of unique arcing and so forth. You've also got the I call it the Jesus rat. They've got a funny different name for it. Basically, he is a rat, obviously based on Jesus, and what he does is as soon as the ball comes in range, he stops it. Doesn't matter how fast it's going, it stops, and he'll pull it and push it towards the direction of the button, roughly, not exactly, but roughly to the direction of the button. He will also put him through walls, so you can actually use him to push the ball through a wall, or actually have him like under near the button, and leave one, he'll pull it through it towards the ball button. So he's quite useful. And to be fair, in the latter part of the levels, which are in fully 3D, to be honest, Karate Rat, Pope Rat, and Jesus Rat will solve nearly every level by themselves. You don't really need many others. I feel like I'm just the odd rat, but pretty much every level revolves around them three solving it, so they're quite useful. To help you along with this, you've got other things you get. So as you get to like chapter 2, you get access to objects that help. So you have some objects which are just like use as platforms, or you can use them like as a block to bounce balls off, or to guide balls, so forth. And these like food box, a Rubik's cube, a plank of wood, a beer can, and so on. But you've also got you get these other objects, and these are things like there's a fan that if you strap it to the back of a rat, it'll blow around that direction after so long and then explode. You've got a rocket, which is a similar sort of thing. It'll touch the rat, and after a few seconds it'll fly off, and then when it hits something, it'll explode. You've got a balloon, which again you can tie and cause the rat to fly up, so you can use this to, like, say for example, you might want to have a yoga rat attached to it, and that's if they'll fly up and pull a ball up, and then perhaps another rat can knock it in a certain direction. So it can be used for things like that. And then the main objects you get. So by combining these objects and these rats together, you basically solve the puzzles. The puzzles themselves aren't that tricky. You get a set of tips and hints to help you along at the start of every puzzle. They'll give you some hints. You don't have to follow them. And there are a lot of puzzles I solved without using those hints, but they give you a rough idea of what's going on. You can also choose to have a drawing of the solution on the screen, so it'll actually show you a way the ball should travel around the screen. And it'll also show you like empty boxes where the cubes represent objects and empty circles represent rats, so you know where you should be putting rats, where you should be putting objects. It won't tell you what to put there, but it will tell you there should be something there. So you can use that as a guide, and you can roughly see if your ball's heading the right way. Every time you finish a run and complete a circuit and you stop it, and when you get to it, if you have failed and you stop it and you want to see what's happened, it shows a trace of the ball as it's travelled through. So you can see exactly where it's bounced, you can see exactly where it's travelled, and with the solution view as well, you can see how close the ball is following that solution. Sometimes you'll see it seems to be following the solution perfectly, but still doesn't work, so you can't figure out why, so you have to sort of use some fiddling around to get it right. The puzzles themselves aren't that tricky. Most puzzle games, it starts off quite easy, then a bit later on they get a bit tougher, then towards the end it's like, I can't see how you do this, I can't see how this is actually possible, the tools, and then you figure it out and feel wonderful. This, however, has the issue that the puzzles themselves are all about the plot. There's a few like that, but in general, once you get very quickly an idea of, okay, well I need to put this here, this here, this here, this here, and this here, and it'll work. And then it comes to the tweaking. Now most of the tweaking is down to positioning of the rats. This is the issue I slightly have with physics-based puzzle games. To me, a puzzle game, including this all ones, which is a passive one, where you set it all up and then it runs by itself, you have no control over it. There should be a certain amount of predictability in that. So, if you run that puzzle 20,000 times, the same result happened 20,000 times. Wrong or right, it'll follow the same direction and so forth. Now, I had a similar issue with a game called Happy Room I played last year. With the physics-based ones, there's a bit of a randomness in there. So you'll run it, and the ball will almost do it, but not quite. And you're not sure, has it not worked because I've not got things positioned just right? Or has it not worked because this time, for whatever reason, that ball went on a slightly different trajectory? For whatever reason, it just, the random number generator, whatever we used, just rolled as if it came up with a different calculation, or the mass behind it came up with a different calculation, and the ball disappeared elsewhere, and it hasn't worked quite as it should. And so you can, as I say, you can run the same puzzle a dozen times and you'll get different results every time, the same setup. And that's my slight issue with these physics-based puzzle games, that in order to be able to puzzle your way through it, you need a certain degree of predictability and to know what you're doing is the right path. So you don't want to think to yourself, has this not worked because I've done it wrong, or has it not worked because this time the number didn't come up? There's one which I set up, ran it, and it worked perfectly. Everything went fine exactly as I expected. It all went through and ran perfectly, and I thought, oh great, I've solved it. I then wanted to record it for this actual video itself. I went to record it, ran it again, it didn't work. Ran it again, didn't work. There's nothing changed. I did the exact same setup. I had to run it another 11 times before it worked again. Now that to me is not a great situation. It should be pretty predictable. If you're involved in the puzzle some way in an active way, say for example like in Portal and Turing tests, so forth, where you've got to place pull stuff, that's forgivable because it's down to your timing. How the puzzle you can't control should be predictable, and this is my issue with any sort of physics-based puzzle. And it gets worse when you get to the 3D puzzles until you work out the trick behind it. It gets a lot worse when they get puzzles because it's even less predictable. It's also got other little weird things in it. So every time you start, there's a timer. You get about 10 minutes to work out how to do the solution, and you get a number about 50 tries to do the solution as well. For what I can tell, it doesn't change. I've not really paid attention to it because there is no point paying attention to it. Because if the time runs out and you get sort of thrown at you, oh, you've got 5 minutes left, or you've got 10 tries left, whatever. If the tries run out, the time runs out, the game simply kicks you back to the main menu, and then you simply click on the chapter again, click on the puzzle again, and you're straight back in there, exactly how you left it. There's nothing changed. As you had it left in the last run, is exactly where it is. You lose literally seconds of progress. So the timer thing is utterly pointless. It really has no effect on the game whatsoever. It doesn't help it in any way. It doesn't create any tension. It doesn't create any strain on it. Absolutely pointless. It doesn't need to be there. just doesn't. I don't even work for me. I didn't even think about it. When I first ran out of time, I thought, oh no, I want to do it all again and reposition everything all again. Went into it and it was all there. I thought, well, this is pointless. Why did I worry about that? So, timer, rubbish, forget about it. It doesn't need to be there. Utterly pointless. Be there. Same with number of tries. Just not to say, don't worry about it, don't give a shit about it, don't worry about it at all. So I suppose while talking about the interface a little bit and sort of its slight issues, the game is relatively solid. It's actually quite a solid game. There isn't, it didn't crash me at all when I was playing it. It worked reasonably well. Not telling the slight unpredictability to it, it worked quite well. The issues, I had some issues with it, and these are sort of minor. They're more niggles than issues. They're just minor little problems that I'm not too fussed about. I could live with, but were a bit annoying. They didn't make me think this game's rubbish and break the game for me. The first one was a little bit of a pain. I got some phantom controller input, and the camera kept getting stuck in the far right hand corner. And after a bit of unplugging of USBs, I discovered it's because it was picking up my steering wheel, and obviously thought that was a controller and was reading data from that steering wheel without actually knowing if that's what it's reading data from, and kept pushing it aside. Now, that's a minor thing that can be sorted relatively easily, but even like bigger developers make mistakes. The first Amnesia made the same mistake with me, and it was picking up phantom noise from the joystick and I couldn't run on it. This is a similar problem. The controls don't work quite as you're expecting. So in the 2D version, I'm going to call it, although it's in a 3D one, I'm going to call it 2D for the sake of argument. You have your big screen. Now, normally, in every other 2 games I've played, in fact, all the other 2 games I've played, in that situation, WASD basically pans you up, down, left, and right, because that's where you want to go, up, down, left, and right. Makes sense, it's a logical thing, and that's what I kept trying to do. Not in Bad Rats. The A and the D work, left and right, they work, but the W and the S is move in and move out, like a first-person shooter. You move inwards and move outwards, or effectively zooming in and out. To move up and down, you have got to use Q and Z on the keyboard to actually move up and down. Bear in mind, there's no actually anyway, it doesn't actually tell the controls here, at least that I found, so you don't know what these controls are, you have to guess this yourself. That's a bit of an annoyance. The way the escape key works is bizarre as well. Nearly in pretty much every other game I've played, apart from a few big ones made a similar mistake. You press the escape key, you get your pause menu or whatever up. Press the escape key again, it closes that menu, push straight back in the game. Escape key is like a pause button. And this works in pretty much every game you play. In Bad Rats, the escape key brings up the pause button as you'd expect, but you have to click continue game. If you press escape again, it boots you right back to the main menu with no confirmation dialogue. Literally is nothing. It literally just, there's no, do you sure want to quit? Yes or no? No, boom, straight back to the main menu, done. That's annoying. Now you can, the other issue I've got with it is you can switch, you have, at the start, you can select, there's like a little presentation at the start that explains what they're going to do to the cat and blow, and they, oh, hello, the bad rats, let's show you what we're going to do. This is the cat, we're going to pour some glue on him, or set fires to him, or blow him up, or what have you. You can script that, you can switch that off so you don't have to listen to it every single time, because it's needed, because, to be honest, there's only like about 8 or 9 ways the cats get killed. I haven't actually counted, it's not many, it's probably more like 7 actually, now I think about it. And so you end up seeing them again and again and again and again. So the first time you've seen it, it's like, oh, it's interesting. It's the sort of interest of how, in this puzzle, is the cat going to get killed, and it doesn't do it anymore. But then they later skip that. But then at the end of the level, when you've completed it, and you go, yeah, you completed it, and it's about, you then have to sit through the animation of the cat getting killed. And again, once you've watched it once, you really don't care anymore. You don't want to see it another dozen times. So I ended up just sat with my phone going on Reddit or something while I was waiting for that overtly long animation to run and cutscene to run. Like the one I've seen like a dozen times before, and I just want to get on with it and just play the next level. So that's not necessarily, that should be removed. That's something that you can't skip. It's very annoying. Interestingly, nothing that makes me laugh, but this is really an interface problem. It's it's very gory. You can switch a lot of that off. I've not actually tried to switch it, but there's options to basically make it a lot more, switch off all the blood and the gore and so forth. But it's so very gory. I mean, literally, it's like cats will get cut to pieces, and you'll have bits of eyeball flying at the screen. It's over the top gore, so it doesn't really worry you too much because it's like strawberry jam at that point. It's just so much of it, but it's not doesn't affect you. It's OTT gore doesn't bother me. It's like Kill Bill, the gore is so silly, it doesn't matter. But the trouble is, what I'm amusing is that whenever the rats swear, they beep it out. You don't care about the gore, but swearing's a bit too much. You best beep that. And I think to myself, well, in that case, why bother putting the dialogue? Why have the rat saying this is fucking awesome if you're just going to beep it out? Delete that. Get rid of that. You don't need him saying, "Oh, this is going to be fucking awesome." It's not necessary. Delete it. Just change the line, or don't beep it at all. That's such a weird juxtaposition. It must be perhaps it's a values distance between the UK and indeed perhaps the American view of it compared to say perhaps in Brazil, they don't see it, they have a different set of obviously values, and perhaps gore's fine but swearing's a bit of a taboo. I don't know, perhaps that's what it is, some sort of values. Perhaps they think we have a problem with it, so they thought we better bleep it for the English speaking market because they might find it offensive, but the gore's fine. That was a little bit weird. But just getting right back to the 3D bit, the interface issues. The last chapter of the game is in a 3D world. The whole world is in 3D. So what I mean by that is, whereas before you're working on a 2D plane, now you're working in 3D. So you have the maps are fully 3D, so the boards have got to move. It can move in every direction. The trouble is, the interface has all been set up with working with rats in this 2D plane. So, for example, you can also interact directly on the map itself and rotate them and so forth, but they were like quick commands. So there's a flip, and the flip in 2D is left and right. Okay, in the 3D, it's still the same axis. You can't do a quarter flip and have the map point. So let's say pointing towards you and away from you. That doesn't work in the 3D world because it doesn't in the 3D section, but it should do because that makes sense. You can rotate the rats in the 2D one, it's by 90 degrees if you need to, or so forth. You might need to rotate by exactly 90 degrees and what have you. Again, in the 3D one, it works in the same one axis. It doesn't work in all three axes, so it doesn't really work very easily. The arrows on them, the arrows which show you where you can move them, you can't actually click on them properly. You have to click in a slightly different location to actually get the arrows to work. So positioning the rats in the 3D environment, the 3D levels, is an absolute pain in the arse. It is so, and because it's physics based, if you get the angle slightly wrong, it messes the whole thing up, and that really becomes a nightmare using them in that situation. The interfaces then starts getting in your way really badly, so that's a pain. Those levels haven't been properly thought through. You're using 2D commands on a 3D world, doesn't work very easily, so not great. But I got through it. Once you realise that all you actually need is, let's say, the karate, the Pope, and the Jesus, right? You can do pretty much anything. You can complete pretty much all those levels quite straightforwardly. You don't need to use all the other bits and pieces. It actually works quite well. I mean, overall, Bad Rat, I'm not gonna. I've picked up a few faults of it. I'm not complaining about it really that much. I'm quite happy that I've played it. I'm quite happy. I'm not, because even if I paid $1.59 for it, I wouldn't be upset. It's a fun little game. I mean, I said I paid 39 pence for it. I really don't care. I'm just picking up the problems with it, but they're all minor and didn't bother me enough to make me hate the game. So it's relatively solid. It works actually quite well. And there's only really one bug in it, which is the football rat, where the model of the football rat sort of misaligns with the actual physics object. So you can have the physics. So you can have the rat here, and it's like physics object here. So as it's moving, the ball will move magically in front of him, and at some points he's literally off the, literally sort of sitting outside the screen, in front of you. You can just see an arm, and it moves, but still moves if he's on the right position on the plane. That's the only bug I found in it. Actually, it's out of that. It's actually quite straightforward, just some weird interface decisions and missing parts of the interface. So it's actually quite a solid game. So do you know what? It's $1.59. I wouldn't say no. Pick it up. You'll have a bit of enjoyment out of it, and if you pick up Steam sale, give it a play. Don't take it too seriously, and you will have some fun with it. It's otherwise it's a half decent game. It's never going to be great. It's no Portal. It's no Turing Test. It's no Talos Principle. But it's also £1.59, not £15. So you get what you pay for, and I'm not going to say it's shit, totally obviously rubbish shit because of that. I enjoyed it anyway. I mean, the 8 hours I put into it, I quite enjoyed. I mean, I've completed it now. I enjoyed it. I've not got anything against it. So, an okay game. Well, anyway, thank you for watching. I've been TheSuffolkRam. I look forward to seeing you on a future Ram Rants. So, if you enjoy this, please subscribe to the channel or like us, and I look forward to seeing you on a future Ram Rants. So, until then, see you later.